Hello, everyone. My name is always Asmal. Welcome to another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat, a show where we talk career experiences, entrepreneurship, and investments. The main aim is to show that there's more than one way to be successful other than just climbing the corporate ladder. We are live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and the show will be available on podcast by tomorrow. For those listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, please leave a rating for the podcast. Now, if you're joining us live, drop a one in the comments so that we know we're not talking to ourselves, and drop a two in the comments if you're watching the recording. So I've got a treat for you this week. My guest is Thabo Gogela, a technology risk assurance manager based in London. Thabo, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, always. Hi, everyone. Hi, glad to be here. And your brief introduction. My name is Thabo Gogela. I am currently based in UK, London. I am from Mount Elif, Eastern Cape.
That's very brief. We're going to have to jump into that introduction a little bit more. So tell us a story. Where do you come from? And even outside of work, who is Thabo Gogela? Give us that backstory.
So I was born and bred in Mount Elif, in a small village called Muaca. Most people don't even know Mount Elif, where Mount Elif is. So Mount Elif
Where
is
is it?
just before Kokstad. If
Uh-huh.
anyone does, if at least people might know Kokstad. So I always just explain it like that. If you know Kokstad, then the next town after Kokstad, in the Eastern Cape, it's Mount Elif. So I was born, bred there, grew up, started school in the village. So I was learning everything in Xhosa. English was taught in Xhosa. So, and then when I was in grade six, I moved to an English medium school, which was a bit tough because now being taught in English meant, I had to translate from Xhosa to English, vice versa, to give my responses. And then fast forward to university, or before university even, got in touch with, or got to know about IT, information technology. And it I got so much interest in it because, for example, we didn't have connectivity when we were growing up. We still don't have connectivity at home. So I thought, if I do IT, maybe I'm gonna be the one installing that. I've failed dismally, so I haven't started that. So don't judge me for that part. So
We're getting there. We're getting there.
don't judge me for that part. Yeah. So then at university, I did information technology. Uh, Went to Nelson Mandela University. So I did my diploma first, and then I did my Bachelor of Technology, in information technology. And then fast forward to my career, we can get to that later.
Now go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, fast forward to my career. So started my career as an IT auditor in Durban. So I moved from Eastern Cape to Durban. So I spent 5 years in Durban being an IT auditor from year one up to where I was a senior consultant before moving this side in 2022. So
So
that's just a
you
brief summary.
you started learning in Kosa, then you started learning English, and then you moved to the land of the Zulu. You really, before you even got to London, it was already an experience, right?
That was something else, man. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed my time in KZN. Definitely, the climate was something else in Devon compared to this side, but that's a story for another day.
And outside of work,
Outside of work, I have my wife, my kids. So I'm with my wife here in London. So we currently we sent our kids home. So they can't have this privilege. So yeah, outside of work, we just take walks, enjoy movies, Netflix, and chill. So definitely, because it's so cold this side, I don't get out much, honestly. But yeah, before coming this side, I used to enjoy the outdoors and everything. So that's just my boring hobbies when I'm coming when I'm this side.
okay. So now I want to talk about your role. Like, so for the uninitiated, myself included, what is technology risk assurance, and maybe more specifically, explain to us what you actually do, because most of us don't know what you do.
Okay, so technology risk assurance basically, since I'm working for an audit firm, the term technology risk assurance refers to the team that supports our financial auditors, right? So how we support our financial auditors, our financial auditors will look at the financial statements, cash flow, everything. They audit that part. So before they come in, we would come in and look at what are the technological controls over those financial statements, right? So as they like to call it, your revenue processes or channels, right? So you would have an application, right, where your finances sit in, right? So you're getting your channel data, your trial balances you're getting from that financial application. So now, as a technology risk assurance, we are called specialists so, because we don't form part of the audit team basically, but we are sort of like part of the audit team. It's a complicated process. But yeah, now we look at things like what your technological controls over that financial data, that is, who has access to those financial data, right? Who can post financial data? Are those people appropriate and authorized? And then we look at your change management processes over that financial data. So I'll give as an example now, right? Your in South Africa, the repo rate has gone down, right? So that means your interest calculations would likely go down. So there needs to be a change on the application on based on the percentage your interest is charged. So we follow that process to say who initiated the change, who tested the change, how did management ensure that the change is appropriate, effective on the application. So if we're saying we changing by 1%, right? How did we make sure that it changed by 1%? Did it change by 1% for everyone? Or did it change by 1% for Thabo only and other people are still charged at the normal percentage? And then we look at things like your business continuity management. So you have technology that supports your business, your financial, uh, basically your business. If your financial data is sitting on an application, that's your day to day. If that system goes down, what are the chances that you will still be able to continue your business, right? So look at what controls do you have in place to ensure that if you get ransomware attacks, as an example, right? That's pretty common now. Cyber attacks, ransomware attacks, where you are locked out of your system. Will you be able to continue your business? So we look at the controls around that as well. So with IT audit, you have two types, right? You have your compliance audits, and then you have your control assessments audits. What I just described now is more on the control assessment audits, right? And then your compliance audits is, for example, you have a bank. A bank needs to comply with a lot of regulations. So they don't want each and every person coming in to say, let's look at the controls you have over protection of credit card data, right? So rather, there's a regulation for just PCI DSS, that's your protection of credit card information, right? Then someone would come and audit or look at the technological controls that you have over protection of that credit card data and then issue you with a certificate, right? Then that certificate, you can post it on your website if you want, you can keep it on your cupboard, whatever you want to do with it. Just proves that if I'm coming through to say how is my data protected? You can prove with that certification. So another example is your POPI compliance, right? A lot of entities are required to comply with POPI compliance because they keep our personal information. So there needs to be a certificate to show that they are POPI compliant. Not a lot of people would ask for this before they go into business with, or if before you even open your bank account, you don't think of asking, like, do you have this certificate? Do you have this? Do you have that? But yeah, it just helps. I think it's specific. Your compliance certifications are mostly used in your banking space or for big applications like your Microsoft or AWS, which will host your services. So then instead of you coming in or each of your clients coming in and want to audit them, they would just be audited once by one audit firm and then be issued with a certification.
Okay. No, makes sense. Makes sense. Now, switching track a little bit. So I was looking through your LinkedIn profile, and when I look at your career trajectory, I saw Johannesburg, then I saw Port Elizabeth, then Durban, and then boom, London. Like, how did that international role come about?
Yeah, man. So I moved quite a lot. So just to explain a bit, when I was in Port Elizabeth finishing up my BTech, there was an opportunity to be a data analyst there at that side. So it was only a 4 months contract. So my career didn't just start with permanent roles. So that was a 4 months contract. So in between that 4 months contract, there was a 1 month contract with a company in Joburg that worked with Nelson Mandela University to take students for 1 month. I think they work with quite a lot of other universities. I know Rhodes University, they work with them. So they took us for 1 month to go to Joburg and be an intern for them. It was another eye-opening experience. I think that's what led to me eventually being an IT auditor. Then those contracts ended. I was unemployed for a month. So I applied. I saw in Devon there was an opening for a senior, which required 3 years experience. I had zero experience in IT audit. I still put my CV forward, and thank you to the director there. When he interviewed me, he could see potential, and then I joined in basically as a trainee. So with IT audit, there is most audit firms offer similar to what CASA traineeship program would go through, right? So you would get, I know most of them give like 3 year contracts, right? So you do a year 1, year 2, year 3, where you are either an associate or depending on what the position is called, or consultant. So I joined through that program. So I became an associate and then moved to another firm in Devon where I became a senior consultant there. And then I got contacted through LinkedIn by a recruitment agency which works a lot with London. I think mostly UK, they cover mostly UK firms in the specifically in the audit space. So they reach out to me. So I like, you know what, let me explore this opportunity. And it was something that my wife and I have been speaking about for a while, though, to say we need to get an experience in London or something. So when that opportunity came by, I explored it. Took 2 interviews and a year to finalize the deal. So that's how long it took. Yeah, it took about a year and 2 interviews. The interview process didn't take long, right? I think my 2 interviews were within 2 months. I think the period that took longer was getting visa sponsorships, because before I could do that, I had to go and do TB tests. So you need to get clear TB tests, especially I think when you come to the UK. I'm not sure about other countries
What's
if
a
they
TP
require
test?
TB, sorry, tuberculosis
Oh,
test,
TV. Oh, okay.
TB
Okay,
test.
that's
Yeah.
like healthy. Okay.
So you
Okay.
need to go to a hospital, pay for that. They assess you, you get your results, and then you can start your visa process.
Okay. Okay. And tell us, uh, you started talking about it, but tell us about the move itself. Let's say there's people out there who's interested in moving to London. Like, what tips do you have for them, or what? Or maybe where did you fall short that you can help them to have a better experience?
I think for me, one mistake that I've seen a lot of people make when they move this side is that they look at the offer in pounds and then convert it to rands immediately. Uh, and then they look like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be getting 1 million rands per annum. The reality is that, yeah, if you were in South Africa, that's 1 million rands per annum. But if you are this side, expenses also meet that 1 million rands per annum. So I think that's one big mistake that a lot of people make. So luckily for us, we watched a lot of YouTube videos of people who are already this side, so we could see how they are living, how they are surviving, and estimation of your living costs. And housing is the highest cost this side. I would say if I were to compare it to South Africa, I think Cape Town is one of the highest living costs in South Africa. So similar to that point, to say if you're going to Cape Town, you don't need to just assess how much you're getting. You need to assess also like your living costs. So I think that's one big mistake that people have made. Second part is understanding the difference, especially if you are coming from South Africa, Durban, the climate is different that side. So understanding the weather patterns this side is another story, because I remember when we landed at Heathrow, and then when we trying to get to our Uber, the wind was just so cold. It was so cold. Where the point where like, oh my gosh, are we even dressed enough? And we're wearing like jerseys, hoodies, like, but it was still so cold. But I think one advice I would say people just, the key one is look at your offer, look at where you're going, because London, Manchester, wherever you are, it's a bit different in terms of your standard of living. So assess according to that. Don't look at your offer and compare it to South Africa or rents, and be happy with it.
Okay, I think that's good advice. For the audience, we'll be responding to questions towards the end, so please add your questions to the comment section now so that we don't miss them. So now I noticed you've got a bachelor's degree and then you've got quite a few online licenses and certification. So to me, that shows that I mean you don't really need an honors or a master's or a doctorate to be successful in your industry. Is that understanding correct? And do you have any comments about that?
So as an IT auditor, you don't necessarily need masters, honors, or above that to be successful. Definitely with your IT degree, that's relate information systems, IT related. I've seen also people who had degrees in internal audit making it in IT audit. So the only thing that I would say when you're coming from an IT background that you come and need and learn when you start as an IT auditor is that audit part. There was the technology part you already know, and similar if you have an audit background, then you just come and learn the IT part. So if you've got good mentors and things like that, then you should be fine. There is one key certification that is that certifies you as an IT auditor. It's your CISA, CISA, which stands for Certified Information Systems Auditor. It's obtained through ISACA. It requires about 5 years experience, and then you can write your examination. Definitely need to study and need the experience. I've attempted it before my 5 years experience and failed it. So definitely need to tell someone that you definitely need that 5 years experience, because it covers a few domains which you might not be exposed to at your early career. So as you go in your career, then you get that experience, then you attempt that certification. So I'd say that's the with your university background, you can definitely be an IT auditor. And then once you become an IT auditor, then you just need to continuously learn as well, audit terms, technology, because technology is changing, evolving each and every time. So you just need to keep up to date with that.
I'm glad you tested the theory of the 5 years because now you know, but at least you can tell everybody about it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I learned the hard way.
Tell me, how different is the work culture in London compared to your experience in South Africa?
Um, so definitely having worked in audit firms throughout my IT audit career, I think London there is a bit of a flexibility in terms, and a bit more in terms of your work-life balance as well. Um, I think, and also having there's a lot of South Africans that I work with as well within my company now. So I think it's just in terms of flexibility. There's a bit more flexibility. It's a bit more relaxed um, environment. Some people might have a different experience, but I think that's my experience.
And when you say flexibility, in what way? Can you give us an example?
So my role currently, it's a hybrid role, right? So I go to the office at least once a week, right? So understanding that some of the firms in South Africa, I'm not sure now, the hybrid meant like 3 days a week, or some are back fully at the office, and so, and also the fact that maybe uh, there's my experience also based when I was a trainee, I didn't see partners. Like, you could see partners, but not when I see them, you couldn't. It wasn't just easy to go to them, say, "Hey, Ways, how are you, man? You good?" and just chat about that. So I think my experience now is like trainees this side like can approach you anytime and ping you. So I'm not sure if it's a culture thing, or it's just how we are in South Africa. That's, yeah.
And my last question before we summarize or we jump to is, I mean, you mentioned that you started in data analysis and you then moved to audit. Was it a, did you think you were wanted to do data analysis before and change your mind, or were you just seeing how the world took you? Why did you choose data analysis and then go to audit?
At that point in time, it was the only job available, right? But I think it was a critical skill that I learned as well, because data analysis becomes a crucial role in IT audit as well, because you get chunks of information that you need to quickly go through and report on it. So I think it's a crucial skill and a critical skill that helped me. And then IT audit. Funny enough, IT audit. One of my lecturers at university when I was doing my BTech had, I saw in his signature he had CISA. So I was like, what is this? What is that certification? And then he said, that's a IT audit certification. Like, how do you get it? Said, you need experience. And then that, for me, it was a point to say, okay, I'm gonna go into IT, right? Because I'm gonna go in IT, be one of those people, sit in IT help desk, and then in 5-10 years time, I'm gonna move into IT audit. And then 10 years became a year that I said it's gonna be, it's gonna. So within a year, then I saw an opportunity, and then I applied for it, and then went into it. So um, definitely didn't know much about it before I started IT, or I didn't know much about it, on what's happening, what's your day-to-day activity, what do you do every day. So I didn't know much about it. And I think people just need to know more about it, and then choose wisely. And definitely to say, when you studied IT, it does not necessarily mean that you're gonna go to software development, you're gonna go to support, or be your IT manager. You can also move into other fields.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Any last few words from you, or anything we didn't discuss that you'd like the audience to know?
I think it's just advice to the young ones, whether you're, let me start with high school students. High school students, the IT field or cyber field is open and growing now at a rapid pace. So I would say, go get a degree in IT or something IT related. There is ample opportunities open for you. And someone that's at varsity doing IT, also what I've just said now, to say looking for IT jobs may be exhausting as well. So just consider looking at IT audit opportunities as well. If you can see them, apply for them. Definitely, I've seen a lot of those opportunities on LinkedIn coming through. Look at your audit firms. The audit firms always advertise on their websites as well. So go through those and explore those opportunities as well.
That's some golden advice for the youngsters out there. I think it's a good way for us to end. The show has been live on YouTube and should be available on podcast by tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube or the podcast and you feel that it's added value, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on that notification bell to get automatically notified when the next episode comes out. Thabo, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much, Wes. Thank you for having me. And hopefully, people have learned a bit more about IT audit today. And if they have any questions, yeah, they can also drop on your channel. Then you can bring me or drop me directly on LinkedIn.
Definitely. Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Two Ways to Skin a Cat. Goodbye.